The hollow whisper. The new house smelled of dust and secrets. I'd only been there a week, but the creaks in the floorboards already felt like they were trying to tell me something. It was an old Victorian, all gnarled wood and stained glass, tucked at the edge of a sleepy town where the fog clung like a second skin. The realtor had called it a fixer-upper with charm, but charm didn't explain the cold that seeped into my bones every night, no matter how high I cranked the heat. I found the diary on the third day. It was buried under a pile of warped floorboards in the attic, its leather cover cracked like drought-stricken earth. The pages were brittle, yellowed, and filled with tight, spidery handwriting that made my eyes ache. I'm not one for snooping, honest, but something about that book pulled me in. Maybe it was the way the air seemed to hum when I touched it, or the faint scent of something metallic, like old blood, that lingered on its pages. The entries started innocently enough. Whoever wrote it, Eleanor, her name was scrawled on the first page, had lived here decades ago. She wrote about mundane things, the garden, the weather, the way the townsfolk stared when she walked by. But as the entries went on, her words grew frantic. Sentences broke off mid-thought. She mentioned hearing whispers at night, soft and directionless, like wind trapped in the walls. She thought it was the house at first. She was wrong. The final entry was dated October 13th, 1963. It was just one line, scratched so deep it tore the paper. "It's inside me now." I read it and felt my stomach twist. The attic was too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums. I shut the diary and shoved it into a box, telling myself it was just an old woman's ramblings. People lose their minds sometimes, don't they? Especially in houses like this, all shadows and echoes. But that night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. Not from the corners of the room, but closer. Too close. The next morning, I tried to laugh it off. New house, new noises, new nerves. I brewed coffee, burned toast, and promised myself I'd focus on unpacking. But the diary kept tugging at my thoughts. I went back to the attic, telling myself I'd just skim a few more pages. Know your enemy, right? Knowledge is power. Eleanor's entries grew stranger the deeper I read. She described a presence in the house, something she couldn't see but felt everywhere. It wasn't a ghost, she insisted. Ghosts were echoes of the dead, and this was alive. Hungry. She wrote about waking up with her hands trembling, her thoughts foggy, like someone else had been rifling through her mind. One entry mentioned a dream, a vast, dark place where something moved just out of sight, its breath hot and wet against her neck. I stopped reading when I realized my hands were shaking. The attic felt smaller, the air thicker. I swore I heard a sound, a low, guttural hum, like a voice trapped underwater. I told myself it was the pipes. Old houses have bad plumbing, don't they? But the hum didn't stop. It followed me down the stairs, faint but persistent, like a pulse I could feel in my teeth. That night I dreamed of a field. Not the kind with flowers or grass, but a gray, endless expanse of ash. Something moved in the distance, too far to see clearly, but I knew it was watching me. Its presence was heavy, like a hand pressing down on my chest. I woke up gasping, my skin clammy, and for a moment I thought I saw something in the mirror across the room, a flicker of movement, too quick to be sure. The next day, I couldn't focus. The hum was louder now, seeping into the walls, the floor, my skull. I tried to call my sister, but the phone line crackled with static, and her voice sounded wrong, distant, like she was speaking from underwater. I hung up and paced the house, checking locks, closing curtains, anything to feel in control. But the diary sat on the kitchen table where I'd left it, its cover gleaming under the light like it was daring me to open it again. I didn't. Instead, I'd burned sage I'd bought from a shop in town, waving it through every room until the air was thick with smoke. The hum stopped for a while, and I'd almost convinced myself it was over. But that night, I woke to the sound of scratching. Not from the walls, but from inside my chest, like something was clawing its way out. I stumbled to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, and froze. My reflection looked wrong. My eyes were too dark, too wide, like they belonged to someone else. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what Eleanor meant by, "It's inside me now." But I feel it. A weight, a shadow, curling inside me like smoke. The house is too quiet tonight, and the diary is still on the table. I haven't touched it since yesterday, but I swear the pages are turning on their own. The diary sat on the kitchen table, untouched, but it might as well have been screaming. I avoided it all morning, busying myself with mundane tasks, sweeping the porch, scrubbing dishes, pretending I hadn't seen my reflection twist in the bathroom mirror the night before. The house felt different now, like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to make a mistake. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the windows, made my heart lurch. I told myself it was just nerves. New houses do that to people, don't they? They play tricks on your mind until you settle in. But the hum was back by noon. It wasn't loud, not like a machine or a voice, but low and constant, burrowing into my thoughts. I tried to drown it out with music, blasting an old radio I'd found in the garage, but the hum cut through the static like a knife. I unplugged the radio, and the silence that followed was worse. It wasn't just quiet, it was empty, like the air itself had been sucked out of the room. I couldn't stand it anymore. I grabbed the diary and flipped to where I'd left off, hoping for answers, maybe even a way to make it stop. Eleanor's handwriting was messy now, the ink smudged in places like she'd been crying when she wrote. She described the presence growing stronger, following her from room to room. She tried to leave the house once, she wrote, but her car wouldn't start, and the road out of town was swallowed by fog so thick she couldn't see her own hands. She came back, and the whispers were waiting for her, louder, angrier. One entry made my blood run cold. Eleanor said the presence wasn't just in the house, it was in her. She felt it moving inside her, like a second heartbeat, slow and deliberate. She wrote about waking up in places she didn't remember going, the attic, the cellar, the backyard under a moonless sky. Her final words on the page were underlined so hard the pen had torn through. "It knows my name." I slammed the diary shut. My hands were clammy, and the hum was louder now, vibrating in my chest like a tuning fork. I tried to call my sister again, but the phone was dead. Not just static this time, no dial tone, no nothing. I checked the windows, and the fog outside was thicker than I'd ever seen, curling against the glass like it was trying to get in. I don't know when I started talking to myself. Maybe it was to fill the silence, to keep the hum from swallowing me whole. I paced the house, muttering about how I'd be fine, how this was all in my head. But then I heard it, a whisper, soft and sharp, like a blade grazing my ear. It wasn't a word, not exactly, but it felt like a question. Like something was testing me. I locked myself in the bedroom, dragging a dresser against the door. The hum followed me, louder now, and the scratching started again, not in my chest this time but under the floorboards. It was slow, deliberate, like nails dragging through wood. I clutched a flashlight, sweeping it across the room, but the beam caught nothing but shadows. Shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking. I didn't sleep. How could I? The air was too heavy, the house too alive. At some point, I started writing in a notebook, trying to make sense of it all. My hands shook as I scribbled, and when I looked down, the words weren't mine. They were Eleanor's, copied verbatim from the diary. It knows my name. I dropped the pen, my heart hammering. The notebook fell open, and the pages were filled with the same sentence, over and over, in handwriting I didn't recognize. By morning, the fog hadn't lifted. The house felt smaller, the walls closer, like they were pressing in on me. I tried to leave, but the front door wouldn't budge. The knob turned, but it was like the door was sealed shut, the wood cold and unyielding under my hands. I ran to the back door, the windows, even the attic hatch. Nothing would open. The hum was a roar now, filling my skull, and the whispers were clearer, forming words I couldn't understand but felt in my bones. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. The diary is still on the table, and I swear it's closer than it was an hour ago. The scratching hasn't stopped, and the shadows are heavier, like they're waiting for something. I don't know what Eleanor let into this house, but I feel it now, curling inside me, watching. It's not just in the walls anymore. It's in me. I haven't left the bedroom in 2 days. The dresser is still against the door, but it feels pointless. Whatever's in this house doesn't need doors. The hum is constant now, a low thrum that pulses in time with my heartbeat. Sometimes I think it's coming from inside me, like my blood is singing someone else's song. The whispers are worse. They're not just sounds anymore, they're words, fragmented and slippery, like trying to catch water in your hands. I can't make them out, but they feel like they're asking for something. The diary is in here with me. I don't remember bringing it. Last I knew, it was on the kitchen table, but this morning it was on the nightstand, open to a page I hadn't read. Eleanor's handwriting was barely legible, the words sprawling across the page like they were trying to escape. She wrote about a ritual, something she found in an old book in the town library. She thought it would banish the presence, send it back to wherever it came from. She was wrong. The ritual invited it in. She described the night she tried it, candles, chalk symbols on the floor, words she didn't understand but spoke anyway. She felt it enter her, not through the air but through her thoughts, slipping into the cracks of her mind. After that, she wasn't alone anymore. It was with her always, watching, waiting. She stopped writing after that entry, except for the final line I'd read days ago. It's inside me now. I burned the diary this morning. Or I tried to. I threw it into the fireplace downstairs, watched the flames lick the pages, but when I went back to check, it was untouched. Not a singe, not a smudge. It was back on the nightstand by noon, open to the same page. I don't know how it got there. I don't know what it wants me to do. The fog outside hasn't lifted. It's so thick now I can't see the street, just a gray wall pressing against the windows. The house is colder, the air sharp in my lungs. I've stopped trying to leave. The doors are still sealed, and the windows won't break, no matter how hard I hit them. I tried calling for help, but my phone is useless, the screen flickering with static that looks like faces if I stare too long. The scratching is louder now, not just under the floor but in the walls, the ceiling, my skin. It's not painful, not exactly, but it's there, a constant reminder that I'm not alone. I keep catching glimpses of things, shadows that move too slowly, reflections that don't match my movements. Last night, I woke up standing in the hallway, my bare feet cold against the wood. I don't remember getting out of bed. I've started writing in the notebook again, trying to keep my thoughts straight. But the words keep changing. I'll write a sentence, look away, and when I look back, it's something else, Eleanor's words, or worse, words I don't understand, in a language that makes my head hurt. The whispers are clearer now, forming my name, over and over, like a chant. I don't know how it knows my name. I don't want to know. I tried the ritual Eleanor described. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could undo whatever she did, send this thing back. I drew the symbols on the floor with chalk I found in a drawer, lit candles I'd bought for decoration. I spoke the words, my voice shaking, the air growing heavier with every syllable. Nothing happened at first. Then the hum stopped. The silence was worse. It was like the house held its breath, and then I felt it, a pressure, not outside but inside, like something was unfolding in my chest. The candles flickered, and the shadows on the walls moved, stretching into shapes that weren't human. I tried to stop, to wipe the chalk away, but my hands wouldn't move. The whispers were louder, not in my ears but in my thoughts, telling me to finish. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up on the floor, the candles burned out, the chalk symbols gone. I'm writing this because I need to remember. I need to know I'm still me. The hum is back, louder, and the scratching is inside me now, not just my skin but deeper, like it's carving something into my bones. The diary is open on the nightstand, and the pages are blank now, all of Eleanor's words gone. But I can feel her, or something like her, watching me. It's not just in the house anymore. It's in me, and it's waiting. I don't know how long I've been in this house. Days blur together, marked only by the dim light filtering through the fog outside. The clocks don't work anymore. The hands spin backward, or they stop altogether, frozen at odd hours like they're mocking me. The hum is my constant companion now, a low, relentless drone that feels like it's rewriting my thoughts. The whispers are louder, too, weaving through the hum like threads in a tapestry. They don't just say my name anymore. They tell me things, secrets, promises, things I don't want to hear but can't ignore. The diary is gone. I woke up this morning, and the nightstand was empty. I searched the house, tearing through drawers, flipping furniture, but it's nowhere. Part of me is relieved. Part of me is terrified. Without it, I have no proof of Eleanor, no evidence that this started with her. But I feel her, or whatever she became, in the air, in the shadows that cling to the walls like damp moss. The house feels alive, not in a warm way but like a predator, watching, waiting for me to slip. I've stopped eating. The food in the pantry is wrong, Ken's rusted overnight, bread sprouting gray fuzz that moves when I look away. Water from the tap tastes metallic, like the air around the diary when I first found it. I'm tired all the time, but sleep is worse. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that gray field, the ash soft under my feet, the thing in the distance closer now. I can't see it clearly, but I know it's not human. Its movements are wrong, too fluid, too many limbs. Last night, I woke up in the attic. I don't know how I got there. The floorboards were cold, and my hands were covered in chalk dust, though I haven't touched chalk since the ritual. There were symbols on the floor, not the ones I drew but others, jagged and uneven, like they were carved by something angry. I scrubbed them away with a rag, my arms aching, but they were back by morning, deeper, as if the wood itself was bleeding them. The scratching is constant now. It's not just inside me, it's everywhere, a chorus of claws scraping against bone, wood, glass. I caught myself scratching at my arm yesterday, hard enough to draw blood, but I didn't feel it. My skin looked wrong, too pale, too thin, like something was pressing against it from the inside. I don't look in mirrors anymore. The last time I did, my reflection smiled before I did. I tried to pray. I'm not religious, not really, but I thought it might help. I whispered every prayer I could remember, bits and pieces from childhood, but the words felt hollow, like they were being swallowed before they left my mouth. The whispers laughed, or at least I think they did. It's hard to tell what's real anymore. The hum is so loud it drowns out my thoughts, and the shadows are heavier, pooling in corners like spilled ink. I found a knife in the kitchen. It's old, the blade pitted with rust, but it's sharp. I carry it now, not because I think it'll help but because it's something solid, something I can hold on to. The house doesn't like it. The air grows colder when I grip the handle, and the whispers turn sharp, like they're warning me. I don't care. If this thing wants me, it's going to have to fight. I'm writing this on scraps of paper I found in a drawer. The notebook is gone, just like the diary, but I need to keep track of what's happening. I need to prove I'm still here, still me. The scratching is louder now, and the shadows are moving again, not just in the corners but across the walls, stretching toward me like fingers. The hum is a roar, and the whispers are chanting, not my name but something else, something old and wrong. I don't know what I let in during the ritual. I don't know if it's the same thing that took Eleanor or something new. But I feel it, growing inside me, filling the spaces where I used to be. My hands don't feel like mine anymore. My thoughts slip away, replaced by images of that gray field, that thing in the distance, closer now, its eyes glinting like wet stone. I don't know how much longer I can fight it. The knife is heavy in my hand, and the shadows are watching. The house isn't a house anymore. It's a cage, a mouth, a thing that breathes with me. The fog outside is so thick it's like the world has been erased, leaving only these walls, these shadows, this endless hum that's become my pulse. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't exist in this place, not the way it should. The clocks are still broken, their hands twitching like dying insects. The windows are sealed, the doors unyielding, and the air is so heavy it feels like I'm drowning in it. I found the diary again. It was under my pillow this morning, its pages blank except for one new entry, written in my handwriting. It's inside me now. I don't remember writing it. I don't remember much of anything anymore. My thoughts are fragmented, like pieces of a mirror scattered across the floor. The whispers fill the gaps, their words clearer now, not just my name but instructions, demands, promises of freedom if I just let go. I won't. Not yet. The knife is still with me, my only anchor. Its weight is comforting, even if the house hates it. The air grows sharp when I hold it, the shadows retreating just enough to give me space to breathe. But they're always there, waiting, pooling in the corners like blood. The scratching is unbearable now, not just in my skin but in my mind, like something is carving out space for itself. I can feel it moving, slow and deliberate, like a parasite burrowing deeper. I tried to burn the house down yesterday. I piled old newspapers in the living room, doused them with lamp oil, and struck a match. The flames caught for a moment, bright and warm, but then the hum surged, and the fire died, snuffed out like a candle in a storm. The shadows laughed, their edges sharper, and the whispers told me I couldn't leave, not like that. I tried the knife instead, not on myself but on the walls, hacking at the wood until my arms ached. The cuts sealed themselves, the wood knitting back together like skin. I don't sleep anymore. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I'm in the gray field, and the thing is closer, its form clearer. It's not human, not animal, not anything I can name. Its eyes are too many, its limbs too long, and it moves like liquid, like it's pouring itself toward me. Last night, I woke up with my hands around my own throat, my nails digging into my skin. I don't know how long I was like that. My neck is bruised, and my fingers ache. The diary's pages keep changing. I'll look away, and when I look back, there's a new entry, always in my handwriting, always words I don't remember writing. They're not just warnings now, they're instructions. Open the door, one said. Let it in, said another. I don't know what door they mean. The house is sealed, and the thing is already here, inside me, growing heavier with every breath. I'm writing this on the last scrap of paper I could find. The notebook is gone, the pen's running dry, but I need to keep going, need to prove I'm still me. The hum is deafening, the whispers a chorus, and the shadows are closing in. I can feel them on my skin, cold and slick, like hands that aren't there. The knife is in my hand, but it feels lighter now, like it's part of me, or I'm part of it. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if I'm still human, or if I ever was. The thing in the field is closer now, so close I can feel its breath, hot and wet, like Eleanor described. The whispers say it's almost time, that I just need to let go, to open the door. I don't want to, but I'm so tired. The scratching is inside my skull, my heart, my soul, and I don't know how much longer I can fight it. The diary is open beside me, its pages blank again, waiting. The shadows are moving, not just on the walls but inside me, and the hum is singing my name. I'm holding the knife, but my hand isn't mine anymore. The thing is here, and it's not just inside me, it's me. I don't know if these words are mine or its. I don't know if I'm writing to warn someone or to invite them. The door is open now, and I can't close it. The hollow frame. The room was too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comforts, but the kind that presses against your ears, heavy, like a held breath. I lay in bed, the blanket tangled around my legs, my body frozen in that peculiar way it sometimes gets when sleep won't let go. My eyes darted to the clock on the nightstand. 2:47 a.m. The red numbers glowed, unblinking, like they knew something I didn't. I'd been here before. Not just in this bed, in this house, but in this state, trapped between waking and dreaming, my limbs heavy as stone. Sleep paralysis, the doctor called it. A glitch in the brain, nothing more. But it never felt like a glitch. It felt personal. Like something was waiting for me in that liminal space, watching. The air grew colder. I couldn't move my head, but my eyes scanned the room. Shadows clung to the corners, thicker than they should be. My heart thudded, slow and deliberate, each beat echoing in my chest. I told myself to breathe, to focus on the familiar, my dresser, the crooked picture frame on the wall, the faint hum of the refrigerator downstairs. But the shadows didn't care about my anchors. They shifted. And then I saw him. He was there, at the foot of my bed. Not standing, not sitting, just existing. A shape too tall, too thin, like a silhouette stretched wrong. His edges blurred into the dark, but his presence was sharp, cutting through the haze of my half-sleep. I wanted to scream, to thrash, to do anything, but my body betrayed me. All I could do was stare. He held something in his hands. A rectangle, small and flat, like a book or a tablet. No, not a tablet. A picture frame. My pulse quickened. I couldn't see his face. Did he even have one? But I felt his attention, heavy and unyielding, pinning me to the mattress. He tilted the frame toward me, and in the dim light I saw it. A photograph. Me, maybe 7 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, standing in front of the old oak tree in my childhood backyard. My breath caught. That photo. I hadn't seen it in years. It used to sit on my mother's mantel, next to her collection of ceramic angels. After the house burned down, I thought it was gone forever, reduced to ash with everything else. But here it was, in his hands, pristine. Impossible. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. He just held the photo, as if offering it to me. Or taunting me. My mind raced. How could he have it? Why that photo? The one where I looked so happy, so untouched by the years that followed, the arguments, the grief, the slow unraveling of my family. I wanted to ask, to demand answers, but my voice was locked away, just like my body. The room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing closer. The shadows deepened, pooling around him like ink. I felt a pull, like gravity shifting, drawing me toward him. Not my body couldn't move, but something deeper, something essential. My thoughts grew fuzzy, like static on an old TV. I tried to focus on the photo, on that younger version of myself, but the edges of the image blurred, the colors bleeding into each other. He stepped closer. Or maybe the room did. It was hard to tell. My chest tightened, each breath a struggle. I wanted to close my eyes, to block him out, but they wouldn't obey. The photo was clearer now, too clear. My younger self wasn't smiling anymore. The grin was gone, replaced by a blank stare, eyes wide and empty, like she was looking through me. The oak tree behind her twisted, its branches curling like fingers. I screamed inside my head. Wake up. Wake up. But the figure leaned closer, the frame inches from my face. I could see every detail now, the frayed edges of my denim overalls, the scuff on my left sneaker, the way the sunlight caught my hair. And something else. Something in the background, just beyond the tree. A shape. His shape. Tall, thin, blurred, but unmistakable. He'd been there. All those years ago. Watching. The realization hit like a wave, cold and suffocating. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I tried to move, to break free, but the paralysis held me like a vice. The figure tilted his head, as if curious, as if studying my fear. The photo trembled in his hands, and for a moment I thought I saw my younger self move, her head turning slightly, her eyes locking onto mine. And then darkness. When I woke, the room was normal. The clock read 3:12 a.m. My body ached, like I'd been running for hours. I sat up, gasping, my hands shaking as I fumbled for the lamp. Light flooded the room, chasing the shadows back to their corners. No figure. No frame. Just my room, my bed, my life. But on the nightstand, where the clock had been, was a photograph. Me, 7 years old, standing in front of the oak tree. The frame was old, wooden, chipped at one corner. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I just stared, my heart sinking, because I knew. He wasn't gone. He was never gone. Morning came too slowly. The sunlight crept through the blinds, weak and gray, like it didn't want to be here. I hadn't slept after waking up, not really. My eyes stayed fixed on the photograph, now sitting on my dresser across the room. I'd moved it there, using a dish towel to avoid touching it, as if it might burn me. It didn't belong here. It shouldn't exist. I got up, my legs unsteady, and made coffee. The routine felt hollow, like I was playing a part in someone else's life. The kitchen was quiet, the only sound the drip of the coffee maker and the distant hum of traffic outside. I kept glancing at the doorway, half expecting to see him there, that too tall figure with his blurred edges. But it was just me. Me and the photo. I tried to focus on the day ahead, work, errands, normal things. But my mind kept circling back to the image. That tree. That smile. That shape in the background. I hadn't imagined it. I couldn't have. The figure had been there, in the photo, in my past. The thought made my stomach twist, a dull ache that wouldn't fade. I called my sister, Lena. She picked up on the third ring, her voice groggy. "It's early, Sarah. Everything okay?" I wanted to tell her everything, the paralysis, the figure, the photo, but the words stuck. Instead, I asked about the old house, the one that burned down when we were kids. Did she remember the photo of me by the oak tree? She went quiet for a moment, then laughed, soft and unsure. "Yeah, I think so. Mom loved that one." "Why?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I mumbled something about nostalgia and hung up, my hands trembling. Lena didn't know about the fire, not really. She was too young when it happened, spared the details I'd carried all these years. The fire wasn't an accident. I never told her what I saw that night, what I felt watching the flames devour our home. The figure in the smoke, tall and thin, watching me as I stood frozen on the lawn. I forced myself to get ready for work. Shower, clothes, keys. But the photo sat there, a weight I couldn't ignore. I covered it with a scarf before leaving, like that would keep it contained. The drive to the office was a blur, the city passing in streaks of gray and glass. My cubicle felt too small, the fluorescent lights too harsh. I kept my head down, typing reports, answering emails, pretending I was fine. But I wasn't fine. Every shadow in the corner of my eye made me flinch. Every creak of the office chair felt like a footstep. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I told my boss I was sick and left, my heart pounding as I drove home. I needed answers. I needed to know why that photo was here, why he was here. Back in my apartment, I uncovered the photo. It looked the same, but different. The colors were brighter, almost unnatural. My younger self stared back, her eyes too large, too knowing. I studied the background, the oak tree, the faint blur of the figure. It was clearer now, his shape more defined. He wasn't just standing there. He was reaching, one long arm extended toward the camera. Toward me. I dropped the frame, the wood clattering against the dresser. My chest tightened, like the air was being squeezed out of the room. I backed away, my eyes locked on the photo. It didn't move, didn't change, but it felt alive, like it was watching me. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking, and called Lena again. This time, I told her everything. The paralysis, the figure, the photo. She listened, quiet, then said, "Sarah, you need to get rid of it. Burn it. Throw it out. Something." I wanted to. I did. But I couldn't. It felt like part of me, like letting it go would mean letting go of something I didn't understand yet. I hung up, promising to call her later, and sat on the couch, staring at the photo from across the room. The day faded into evening, the light shifting, shadows stretching across the floor. That night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I sat up, the photo on the coffee table now, a lamp trained on it like a spotlight. I watched it, waiting for something to happen, for him to appear. The clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2. My eyes burned, my body heavy with exhaustion. And then a sound. A faint creak, like a door opening. But my apartment was locked. I checked. I always checked. My heart raced, my gaze darting to the photo. It was the same. No, not the same. The figure in the background was gone. But the shadows in my room were moving. The creak lingered in the air, sharp and wrong, like a note played out of tune. I sat frozen on the couch, the lamp's light cutting a harsh circle around the photograph. My apartment felt too small, the walls too close, the shadows too alive. I wanted to move, to check the door, the windows, anything, but my body wouldn't listen. Not paralysis this time, just fear, raw and heavy, pinning me in place. I stared at the photo. The figure in the background was gone, the space behind the oak tree empty, just grass and sky. But the absence felt worse, like he'd stepped out of the frame and into my world. My eyes flicked to the corners of the room, where the lamp's light didn't reach. The shadows seemed to pulse, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat. I forced myself to stand, my legs shaky, and grabbed the photo. The frame was cold, unnaturally so, like it had been sitting in a freezer. I turned it over, half expecting to see something written on the back, some clue, some explanation. Nothing. Just blank wood, worn and scratched, like it had been handled 1,000 times. I set it down, face up, and backed away. The creak came again. Closer now, from the hallway. My apartment was small, one bedroom, one bathroom, a kitchen barely big enough for a table. There was nowhere for a sound like that to hide. I grabbed my phone, my thumb hovering over Lena's number, but I didn't call. What would I say? That I was hearing things? That a photo was haunting me? She'd think I was losing it. Maybe I was. I crept toward the hallway, my bare feet silent on the carpet. The light from the living room didn't reach far, and the hallway was a tunnel of darkness. I fumbled for the light switch, my fingers brushing the wall, but when I flicked it, nothing happened. The bulb was dead. Or something had made it dead. My breath hitched, shallow and quick, as I peered into the dark. Something moved. Not a sound, not a shape, but a feeling, a shift in the air, like the room was holding its breath. I backed up, my heart hammering, and grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter. It felt ridiculous, holding a knife against shadows, but it was all I had. I stood there, listening, waiting, the blade trembling in my hand. The creak came again, slower, deliberate, like footsteps on old wood. But my floor was carpeted. There was no wood. I wanted to call out, to demand who was there, but my voice was gone, swallowed by the weight of the moment. Instead, I moved toward the door, my free hand reaching for the deadbolt. It was still locked, the chain in place. No one could have gotten in. No one human. I turned back to the living room. The photo was still there, bathed in lamplight, my younger self staring up at me. But something was different. The oak tree. Its branches were wrong, twisted into shapes that didn't make sense, like they were reaching for something. I stepped closer, my eyes locked on the image, and saw it, a faint outline, just beyond the tree. Not the figure, not exactly, but a suggestion of him, like a smudge on the lens. My phone buzzed, shattering the silence. I yelped, the knife slipping from my hand and clattering to the floor. Lena's name flashed on the screen. I answered, my voice barely a whisper. Lena? Sarah, you okay? You didn't call back. Her voice was worried, sharp with it. I tried to explain, but the words tumbled out wrong, fragmented. The photo, the figure, the creaks. She listened, her breathing uneven, and then said, You need to leave. Now. Come stay with me. I wanted to. I wanted to run, to get as far from that photo as I could. But something stopped me. The frame, the image, the figure, they were tied to me, to my past. Leaving felt like running from something I needed to face. I told Lena I'd be fine, that I'd call her tomorrow. She argued, but I hung up, my hands shaking. The apartment was quiet again. Too quiet. I picked up the knife, my eyes darting to the photo. The smudge was clearer now, a shape forming, tall and thin. My chest tightened, my breath shallow. I wanted to destroy it, to tear the photo to pieces, but I couldn't. It felt like part of me, like ripping it apart would rip something out of me too. I sat back on the couch, the knife in my lap, the photo staring back. The shadows didn't move, but they didn't need to. He was here. I could feel him, waiting, watching, just out of sight. And I knew deep down that he wasn't done with me yet. I didn't sleep. The knife stayed in my hand, its weight a small comfort against the vast, creeping dread. The photo sat on the coffee table, untouched, but it felt like it was breathing, alive in a way that made my skin crawl. Dawn came, gray and heavy, the light filtering through the blinds like dirty water. I was exhausted, my eyes burning, my body aching from sitting upright all night. I needed answers. The photo wasn't just a memory, it was a message. But from who? Or what? I thought about the fire again, the one that took our house when I was 12. I'd never told anyone the full truth, not even Lena. The flames, the smoke, the figure in the yard. I'd convinced myself it was a trick of the light, a child's imagination running wild. But now, with that photo in my apartment, I wasn't so sure. I called in sick to work again. My boss didn't sound happy, but I didn't care. I couldn't sit in that cubicle, pretending everything was normal. Instead, I grabbed my laptop and started searching. Old newspaper articles, local archives, anything about the fire. Most of it was mundane. Faulty wiring, the official report said. No casualties, thankfully, but the house was a total loss. I scrolled through grainy photos of the wreckage, my chest tightening as I recognized the blackened skeleton of the oak tree. One article mentioned a witness, an old neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove. She told the reporter she saw someone in the yard that night, someone who didn't belong. The police dismissed it, grief, they said, or bad eyesight. But I remembered Mrs. Hargrove. She used to give us cookies, her hands trembling with age. She wasn't the type to make things up. I tried to find her, but the internet gave me nothing. She'd be in her 90s now, if she was still alive. I called Lena instead, asking if she remembered anything about Mrs. Hargrove. She didn't, but she sounded worried again, her voice sharp. "Sarah, you're scaring me. What's going on?" I didn't want to drag her into this, not yet, so I lied, said I was just curious about the old neighborhood. She didn't believe me, but she let it go. I turned back to the photo. It hadn't changed, but it felt different every time I looked at it. The oak tree's branches seemed to shift, curling tighter, like they were closing in. My younger self looked smaller, her eyes darker, like she was sinking into the image. And that smudge, that faint outline of the figure, was sharper now, his arms stretched longer, closer to the camera. I couldn't stay in the apartment. I grabbed my keys, the photo, and a flashlight, and drove to the old neighborhood. The lot where our house stood was empty now, just a patch of overgrown grass and a few charred stumps. The oak tree was gone, but I could still feel it, like a ghost lingering in the air. I stood there, the photo in my hands, the wind cold against my face. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lot. I felt exposed, like something was watching me from the trees across the street. I turned, half expecting to see him, but there was nothing. Just the wind, the grass, the fading light. I looked down at the photo again, and my breath caught. The figure was clearer, his shape unmistakable now, tall, thin, blurred at the edges. He wasn't reaching anymore. He was pointing. At me. I stumbled back, the frame slipping from my hands. It hit the ground, the glass cracking in a spiderweb pattern. My heart pounded, my vision swimming. I wanted to run, to get back in my car and drive until I forgot this place, this photo, this feeling. But I couldn't move. The air was heavy, like it was pressing me into the earth. A sound broke the silence, a low hum, like a voice without words. It came from everywhere and nowhere, vibrating in my bones. I looked at the photo, still on the ground, and saw something impossible. My younger self was gone. The space where she stood was empty, just the tree and the figure, now fully formed, standing where I had been. I ran. I didn't look back. The car door slammed behind me, my hands shaking as I started the engine. The hum followed me, faint but persistent, even as I sped away. When I got home, I locked the door, checked it twice, and sat on the couch, the knife in my lap again. The photo was still there, on the floor where I'd dropped it. But now, it was just me in the image. No figure. No tree. Just me, standing alone, my face blank, my eyes empty. The apartment felt wrong. The air was thick, like it was holding on to something it didn't want to let go. I sat on the couch, the cracked photo frame on the coffee table, its glass glinting under the lamp. I hadn't touched it since I got back from the lot. I couldn't. Every time I looked at it, my stomach twisted, like I was staring into something that wasn't just a picture. The image was different now. Just me, standing alone, no tree, no figure. But it wasn't me as a child anymore. It was me now, my face, my clothes, my tired eyes. I didn't understand how it was possible. I didn't want to. All I knew was that the photo was changing, and every time it did, I felt less like myself, like something was slipping away. I hadn't called Lena. I hadn't called anyone. The knife was still in my lap, its blade catching the light, but it felt useless now. What good was a knife against something that didn't have a body? I thought about burning the photo, like Lena suggested, but the idea made me sick. It wasn't just a photo anymore. It was a piece of me, a piece I didn't know I'd lost until now. The hum started again. Low, steady, like a pulse in the walls. I froze, my eyes darting to the corners of the room. The shadows were still, but they felt alive, watching, waiting. I stood, slow and careful, and checked the door again. Locked. The windows, too. Everything was sealed, but it didn't matter. He didn't need doors. I turned back to the photo. It had changed again. I was still there, but the background wasn't empty anymore. It was my apartment, my couch, my lamp, my walls. And behind me, just out of focus, was the figure. Tall, thin, his edges bleeding into the shadows. He wasn't pointing anymore. He was closer, his hand resting on my shoulder. My breath stopped. I could feel it, not the hand, not exactly, but a weight, cold and heavy, pressing against me. I stumbled back, my hip hitting the coffee table, the frame wobbling but not falling. The hum grew louder, vibrating in my chest, my head, my bones. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out. The room plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the street lamp outside, weak and yellow through the blinds. I grabbed my phone, fumbling for the flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on. The screen was black, dead, even though it had been fully charged. The hum was everywhere now, a chorus of nothing, filling the air until I couldn't think. I felt him before I saw him. A presence too close, too real. I turned, my eyes straining in the dark, and there he was. At the edge of the room, where the shadows were deepest. He didn't move, didn't speak, but I knew he was looking at me. The photo was in his hands again, the frame whole, uncracked. He held it out, like an offering, and I saw myself in it, standing in my apartment, staring at the photo, with him behind me. My knees buckled. I hit the floor, my hands scrambling for the knife, but it was gone. The hum was deafening now, a sound that wasn't a sound, a feeling that wasn't a feeling. I crawled toward the door, my nails digging into the carpet, my breath ragged. I had to get out. I had to leave the photo, the figure, everything. But the door wouldn't open. The lock turned, the chain rattled, but it held fast, like something was pushing back. I pounded on it, my fists aching, my voice breaking as I screamed for help. No one answered. The hum swallowed everything. I turned, my back against the door, and saw the photo on the floor. It was different again. Just the figure now, standing alone, the frame empty around him. No apartment, no me, just him, his shape clearer than ever, his head tilted like he was listening. The weight on my shoulder grew heavier. I could feel it now, his hand cold and wrong, like it was sinking into me. My vision blurred, my thoughts fracturing. I saw the fire again, the oak tree, my childhood home burning, and him, always him, watching from the edges. I don't know when I stopped fighting. I don't know when the hum became my heartbeat, when the shadows became my home. But I know I'm still here, in the frame, staring out at a world I can't touch. And he's with me, always, just behind my shoulder.